All right, and welcome to this demonstration of ajarnjobs.com. My name is Michael Hunter, and if you're seeing this video, it's because you took the time to check out my video posted on my application. So thank you very much for taking the time to check this video out. So what we're looking at now, we're on the user dashboard, and this is for a creator account. So if we take a look, we can see that we're set as an employer looking to hire, and this profile is hidden from employers and other viewers. So this is our user object on MongoDB. And what we can do is right now we have a creator profile. We have no applicants. We did create a job so we can see how jobs look. Credits, so if we want to add credits. Right now there is no transaction or payment mechanisms in place to do a transaction. So right now it's just a post request. So if we do click on any of these buttons, we will add the set amount of credits. So in this case 15. So if I click on agency, I want to add 15 credits. We just added 15 credits, and we can go ahead and create a job. So let's see. We are using JSON web tokens, and we might see that it is expired. So let's just see what happens. Let's do a featured job, and we'll create it. So ESL teacher for M6, and we have our salary will be 50,000 per month in Rayong, and we want you to have a bachelor's of science. So looking for a science teacher to teach M6 in Rayong. And go ahead and add that job. We successfully added the job, and we were deducted the credits. If we take a look over, we can go to our backend, and we can see, well, first, this is just the add credits functionality, where we get the user's ID based on the current user here, and we find that user by ID, and then we just, in our post request, we are using a custom hook, which we can also take a look at for adding the credits. We save that user once we've added the credits in the post request. And let's just take a look at that real quick. So in my hooks, I have a user hook, and here we have add credits as a patch request. Actually, this is a patch request because we're just updating the user object, and we accept a user ID and the credits as an argument. This is our URL for our backend and our user ID, and then we know this is add credits. So when it hits that route, that controller function is called, and from the response we return a copy of the auth.user from the auth context, and the response credits to update the user. Update user is a function, a part of the auth context to update the user object. All right, and we are using use callback, so we're listening for changes on send request, update user, and auth.user. So send request is also a custom hook, which handles a bit more and gives us the functionality as well as with loading. So we have two types of loading that we track, is loading and post loading, depending on if it's a get or a post request. And we are returning these in an object. Okay, so we've created the job, And when we create a job, what we're doing is we have some validation where we want to check certain things. And if we take a look at our routes, we can look at our job routes. And if we want to create a job, we can see here we have a create job and we expect a user ID, dynamic user ID. And that's UID. So we have some checks in there. We want to make sure that certain validation is taking place and the forms are being properly filled out before we call this function. And once we go back to create job, we can see in our request body, we are expecting a few fields. And once all of this is handled, we also do deduct the credits from the user. And once we take a look at our job, we can see here we have our jobs and we can view the job. We can't apply to it because we're a employer. So in our users, apply to job, controller, you cannot apply to a job if you are a employer. So if user.userType does not equal teacher, you must be a teacher to apply to jobs. You won't even get that far because, well, unless you find a way to do it on the front end, it's also validated here as well. So if we look at our jobs page and we have our job details. So we have some checks. So if auth.user.resume and auth.user.coverletter and auth.user.userType does not equal employer, we have our check user can apply. We let it equal true, and then if any of these are the case, then user can apply equals false. So then if user can't apply and that's false, that means they can, right? Okay, and ternary operators, checking based on the auth user object. We can apply. All right, so if we go back to the dashboard, we don't have any applicants just yet. We do have 2 jobs. One is featured and one is not. One is full-time, one is part-time. So let's log in as a user now. And that will be, let's create a new user. And Erica Thomas. Sign up. Created a new user with Erica. And on the dashboard, Erica needs some data. So we're now in as a teacher. So if we look at our settings, we are a teacher looking for a job, and your profile is public to schools, agencies, and recruiters. So let's give Erica some data so that when people look for her, there's something they can take away from the visit. All right, so separate each skill by a comma. This does take a string on our user object. But what we're going to do is we're going to split it by the commas and return chips. So skills is takes a string, and we could also see that on our user object on the models as well. So skills string, it's default, it's an empty string, as well as interest is string, default empty string. And for skills, we're going to just say PPP, present, practice, produce, TTT, test, teach, test, and then student-centered camelback, camel case. And let's say for this, hiking, kayaking, and snorkeling. Maybe I spelled that wrong. Alright. Hi, I am Erica. I am happy to be here. Alright. So as you can see, there's a user job, or not user job, there's a job here that they can also view. And we save that. This information should be saved. We look over, we have our hiking, kayaking, snorkeling, skills, resume. It's not there yet, and we have a default for the bio. So what we could do is then put some information about their education, just name of the school, some logos of the school if possible. And now if we look at jobs, and these are the jobs that we've created, if we try to apply, we still can't because we don't have a cover letter on file, so we need to go ahead and add one. And we'll go back to the dashboard for that. And we'll go to the resumes first. We need to add a resume. Let's go ahead and save that. And what happened here is for every resume we create, there is a unique ID given to it. But that's only if you save it. So if you cancel, then nothing happens. On our user, we can also see that this has updated. And we can see the ID here is here. Okay, and then if I go back to my profile now on my resume, I have a nice little drop down. And the last thing I need to do is create a cover letter. So, dear hiring manager, I hope this is well. I would love an opportunity to chat more with you regarding this job. Alright, and we can save this. So now we have a cover letter on file. And if we go back to jobs and we look for the job, you'll see that we're looking at this job now. We should be able to apply. And so this should have been successful. And the way that we can check in the future, we can have a modal pop up to show a confirmation for success for notification and good user experience. on our user dashboard, we can look at our applications and we can see that we have our application here now for the jobs that we applied to. So logging out, I'm going to just go ahead and refresh the page so I can also give you a little bit of a some insight into how we are handling data. So we're using API caching. So what you just saw when we clicked was the loading skeleton. And then if we click on teachers, you also see the loading skeleton. But then when we go back, it doesn't have to load anymore on these pages. Whereas for the home page, it's not yet installed. So every time we come back, we are performing a GET request. So that's something that will be added in place, but you can see the difference and the benefits from not needing to continuously make GET requests each time when data hasn't changed, right? So definitely a benefit. All right, so now I'm gonna log back in because that job was applied to. So I've logged back in now in my creator account, and I applied to the job that I created, and I can see now that I have one applicant. I can see their name, nationality, location, work experience. Well, it should be their email. So if we look at that's in our creator at job applicants table in our dashboard. And as you can see, we have a table rows where we just have our fields in an object. This saved a lot of lines just to loop over it. And what I need to change then is work experience to email. And there we go. So in our job applicants table, we have our auth context, and we just destructure and take the user value, and we are going to, well, we're taking that user object, and we're using our clear error from our use job hook, just in case if there is an error. And here you can see use query for our API caching. So once we have a successful GET from our API GET request, we can cache the jobs applied to. And we can see in our data, what are we taking from the database, jobs.user. We have to map over that, then get the applicants, the list of applicants that have applied for the job, map over that, and then we can return a list of the users. So 2 loops, not the best situation. That's something that can be improved in the future. And we can also see now back on the website, we can click here and we can see this user's profile with the skills that we created. And there is no email function yet, but you can click here, and the idea is that you'll be able to send an email to this user based on the email they provided. And here we have a pretext added for the user should they decide to want to use this, or they can just get rid of it and create their own message. So much that can be improved. I don't believe I've covered everything we can filter teachers based on 3 criteria right now. And we might want to add experience to this as well in the future. You see Jeff fits all the qualifications. We can send Jeff a message. Alright, with my job listings. So I have my jobs here. I have 2 jobs. I can view it. I can edit the job. At the moment, once a job is created, I believe for the safety of users, especially those who apply to jobs, that certain fields should not be updated once a job is created. So 2 things that can change is the title and the end of the description, but salary, hours, work permit, information like that shouldn't be adjusted. Instead, the job should just be deleted if that was a mistake. So in the future, we can put together certain safeguards to assure creators that they're very careful with creating their jobs. All right, and the last thing to do would be to delete a job. So this job, let's say that we just want to delete a job. We can go ahead and click delete. And our job now is we only have 1 job, where we have 1 applicant and 1 listing. If we go back here, we only have that 1 job now. So there's multiple companies with BMITs, so probably not the best title. I've been renaming a lot of the jobs BMITs, but as you can see, the logo that we use, or the image that we use to create our account, is different, so it's not actually the same job, or same in the sense connected to that user, which I am logged in as right now. All right, well, and in the future, I'd also like to add buffet logic. So anytime a user views a teacher, there should be a deduction of credits over a course of let's say a 24-hour or 12-hour period. So if they click this, they'll confirm, and then they'll have they'll be able to view teacher profiles and shop around and kind of get an idea of who they can or who they might want to hire or further contact. All right. So this is Ajarn jobs. There is a lot that can still be improved, and I'm going to continue working on this, but I'm happy if you made it to the end of the video, and I would love to explain more in depth. Sorry if I didn't cover certain elements that you would have liked me to explain more. I would be happy to explain anything about this project further in detail, my thought processes and decisions, troubles that I've faced along the way, and how I've overcome them, and problems that I'm still facing and working on at the moment. So thank you for taking a moment to watch this video. Take care. Bye-bye.